Planning an event that's just around the corner? PC NameTag is here for planners with their exclusive event badge, plus other meeting supplies, including promotional products. Count on customized services that include consultation, printing and assembly, then delivery of your imprinted products to your next event. PC NameTag saves time and helps you present an extraordinary event, one that leads to memorable and meaningful connections. Call 888-698-5500 or visit PCNameTag.com today.
Are you a follower? Okay, so we're gonna call the Adler.
Welcome to GatherGeeks, a podcast by BizBash, the place where people passionate about meetings and events come together. Here are your hosts, BizBash CEO David Adler and Editor-in-Chief Beth Kormanik.
Hi, David.
Hey, Beth. Here we are, another podcast.
Today, we are welcoming back Michael Cerbelli, CEO and President of Cerbelli Creative, to GatherGeeks. Michael's signature hot list, now in its 17th year, highlights event and entertainment insights and trends. We know Michael very well, and at a recent BizBash Live New York, Michael shared how he produced a $3 million bar mitzvah, really stunning. So he's in the mix of how to impress clients and their guests at over-the-top events. And the presentation of this list is also an over-the-top event as well. And David, give us a picture so listeners who haven't seen it can get a sense of what we're talking about.
Well, we have learned at BizBash that people are always looking to peek over the fence to see what other people are doing. So we like to embrace anybody that's sharing ideas about events. And what Michael does at Special Event and other shows is he allows people to hear his process, who he's chosen as the go-to people. And he said in this podcast, it was nice to say he uses BizBash to get his ideas in many cases.
Let's set the picture for people. He's not just reading things off of a piece of paper or PowerPoint.
He is dramatic in the way he's presenting what it is. He brings some of the acts and the things to life actually in the show. He's gone from 100 people to per showcase to no more than 35 now at these kind of events, and they leave wanting more.
So why do you think people like being told what's hot? Most of our listeners, they're event planners, they're creative people as well, but everybody still wants to know what his picks are.
Well, I think we're all insecure in some way or in some shape. If someone else says it, you kind of listen, and you want to make sure you're not missing out. I mean, it's a lot of FOMO too. We don't know anything about what's going on in real life because it's such a dynamic industry. So there's always things coming from left field, and you don't want to be left out of left field.
Mm-hmm. Well, Michael, as we mentioned, is also kind of a showman himself. And
yes.
So I think that he's a great speaker. So we'll enjoy listening to hear his take on what's hot and how he puts this all together. So let's get into it.
So we're here with Michael, and we're talking about his famous hot list that he's been putting together for over a decade. How many years is it now, Michael?
17 years.
17 years. So you've seen everything.
I haven't seen everything yet because I want the list to go on another day.
Yeah, because you're a relative child, actually. So tell us what about this list what made you start it, and why are you continuing it, and why are you so passionate about it?
To get to the point very quickly, I wasn't getting tangible information at conferences. It was great. I would get the war story. I would see the pretty pictures, the great speakers, but there was no takeaway. I wasn't bringing anything back with me. I would say to my team, they had something interesting. Now let's research it. So it just frustrated me. A long story cut short, that I felt I wasn't getting tangible information from one incredible designer. And I said, I'm going to start Michael Cerbelli's 101 Hot Event and Entertainment Ideas in 90 Minutes. That was the original title. And I did 101 ideas in 90 minutes, David.
And what kind of ideas were there in the first list?
Off the top of my head, my favorite one was just a light up ice cube. A little LED light inside a light cube. And you would put this in a drink and pass out the drinks, the signature drink when you walk in, and people would be like, in 2001, 2002, what is that? It's a light up ice cube.
That was just the beginning of the industry in many senses. We just started in 2000, and we did find that people love they want ideas and they're insecure about the ideas that they find, and they need someone to tell them, oh, this is okay.
Correct. You know, if I think about where I was sitting in the offices back in 2000, 2001, when I would take a light cube out at a meeting and say, what do we have to do to signature drinks with these? Clients would get excited. I was like, that's a great idea. I've never seen that before. My guests are going to love them. And everybody would steal the ice cubes at the end of the night, and it was fun.
Yeah, exactly. So what was some of the ideas that were on the list then compared to some of the ideas that are on the list now? What was different? What is different?
I'll give you a fast example. If you think about 2001, they've been around around forever. They do events around the world. The Three Waiters.
Oh my God, I love the Three Waiters.
Amazing. Brad Wilson, I've known forever. And you know, when I first had the Three Waiters on, it was like, wow, people are like, so this is a phony waiter, and he's going to get up, and then there's another one, and then another one, and blah blah blah. You look at that, and this whole big show that they do, and they still do, and I still pitch them to this day. And now you think about that long show, that 1 hour show, which they're fantastic, not taking anything away from them. More people are looking for a shorter performance, something short, something quick, 3, 5, 6 minutes. That's what they want. And if you think about the Three Waiters in 2001, now you shoot to 2017, 2018, the Skating Erratas. A beautiful couple, stunning, on roller skates on a 6-foot circumference, spinning around. You think she's going to bang her head. She's going to fly into the audience. And it's a 5-minute edge of your seat performance, and general session starts.
And it's a social media moment.
Yeah.
Like nobody's business.
Phones are in the air.
Because don't forget, in 2001, we didn't have social media.
No. You would go home and say, so they had this actor. You would know people get excited, run home to tell their husbands or wives or significant other, this is what we just saw. And now it's every phone is in the air during these performances.
Well, you do see that. I mean, I still think that Three Waiters is pretty incredible, and they're still around, and they're all around the world.
But now you think about that, and you just made it clicked in my head as you were saying it. They do have that moment.
Yeah, they have that moment.
If you think when at the end of their performance, when they're singing Folliculi, Follicula, and every napkin is up in the air and spinning around, that is that same moment. You just didn't get it in 2001. You would go back and tell someone about it. Now you could see it.
Well, the other interesting thing about what they're doing and what other acts are doing is, when we talk about entertainment now, it's no longer really entertainment. It's called engagement. Technology, people are spending gazillions of dollars creating the feeling that Three Waiters and acts like that give you when you're in a group experience, that delight and everything about it. It's fantastic, actually.
Absolutely.
And I think we're seeing more and more of that.
I agree with you 100%.
What else was on the list then that has changed?
Oh, you talk.
I'm forcing you to go into your memory banks.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard. It's like someone says, where are you going to want to go to dinner? And then you can forget all the restaurants.
You know, from a simple Coney Island photo booth that you would be able to take to your event in 2001, 2002, now the technology, it's not worrying about steps and this. How am I going to get that big, gigantic booth into a room? Now it's the photo op that comes in there that's all technology based. A 360-degree photo. It literally packs into a couple of cases. They put up the screen. They put up a little simple tripod with lights that go around, cameras that go around it. And now you have a 360-degree booth that wows everybody. And now, instead of just printing it out, it's social media.
Well, it's amplification, because now people are telling thousands of people. That's why budgets are bigger now. Absolutely. Because of the amplification that everyone. The old rules was everybody told something to 7 people. Now they're telling people to 700,000 forever in this type of world. So amplification has changed it.
And they want those likes. They want those people to react to what they're doing.
What about some of the other things on the list that were then and now on the structural side, or are you mostly on the entertainment side on this?
No, we do products and things like that. If you think about I'll give you a quick example. In 2001, if you think about bringing fireworks to an event, you would call a Grucci, a big company like that.
Oh, yeah, it's a big deal.
You know what I mean? And wow, they did fireworks. Now there's an amazing company. And I got to tell you something. I saw this. They sent me their information to be on the list. And I sat back. I was like, is this for real? Vivid fireworks in a box. It's a 3-foot by 3-foot box that they literally design your whole event by Google Maps. So you go on, say, here's the colors. This is what I'm thinking. This is the kind of show that I want. They Google Map, they find the perfect location at your event where the fireworks could be placed. They take care of all the licensing in that community. They take care of having a technician on site, and the box is shipped, brought there, set up in a location. It's an 8-minute show, done. I don't want to get into pricing and things like that. They could talk about pricing, but it's affordable. And it's simple. And what's going to be, to talk about technology, that's as simple as going online, designing the colors. This bride wants a purple event. Bam, she's going to get a purple event.
Can you brand it with words and things like that?
I don't know if that's a very good question, David. I don't know if they could do that yet. I really don't.
You know it's coming.
I'm sure, but I'll tell you one of the next things coming with them, you're going to be able to open the box, pull out a simple tab, and then put a code into your phone. It's like the magic code, and then set it off yourself on that moment that you want to. Just on your phone, the fireworks will go off. Is that amazing? Think about the Grucci company that would have to come and do this and that and all this stuff that would be involved. And they're an amazing company. You know what I mean? They're amazing. But, you know, you're talking about tens of thousands of dollars where now it could be shipped to you in a box.
What other ideas have you seen that have evolved?
Oh, evolved.
I mean, because you talk about the entertainment going from long to short. Mm-hmm. You're seeing high cost of big moments coming radically down in price and in simplification. You're seeing a million technology solutions to things, which I'm not sure if you're getting heavily into that. But the idea that technology, my whole thing is that the whole purpose of technology is to make what was complicated trivial.
Agree with you on that. So if you think about it, there's a wonderful Doreen Collier out of Tampa, Florida, and AJ. They had a product, and they've been on America's Got Talent, but I actually knew about this even before America's Got Talent. Something called Television. And they have these mobile flat screens. No wires, nothing. Everything's programmed into them. And they could tell this whole story with 8, 12, 16 screens, whatever you can imagine, why these performers dressed in black and the screens are moving around, they all come together, they make one picture. You want 16 different pictures, they all split up. And they tell this story of whatever you want. They did one of the Hot List one year, told my whole history. I think it was probably the 14th or 15th anniversary that they performed, and then introduced me on the stage. By bringing all the screens together, you saw a life-size image of me, the screens opened up, and I was standing behind the screens, and I walked onto stage. Think about that for a CEO, this opening, and wow, you just did a simple presentation, maybe that message that you want to get out for corporate America, send that message right at the beginning. This is going to be the theme of our show, and that C-level executive walks out on stage with them. It brings it all together. So it's kind of a wow that you never really saw before, except with dancers that would be like, oh, look at this. They're dancing around, and then someone comes out.
Where in the pacing of an event, where should the wows be? Like, how does an event organizer or event planner or producer pace the wows, whether it's not too much or too little? What's your philosophy on that?
I think right up front, right at the very beginning, wake them up.
First impression?
First impression. Wake them up. Before anything happens on that stage, wake them up with some sort of message, branding. It could be to the heart, and then things in between. That talking head, maybe something fun, maybe that MC, a host, or things like that. I think people forget that too. Oh, blah, blah, blah could just host this. Have that right person. There was a term that an old partner of mine used, and I thought it was a brilliant term, and I still use it to this day, sorbet. In between the talking heads, something happening there. If you look at an act that's been around forever, and I just recently booked them for an event next month, The Passing Zone. They're jugglers, but they're brilliant at what they do, and they've lasted so many years, like a Three Waiters, because they move with the times. They get funny. They're brilliant, but they could open a show with a wow, and then could be your sorbet in between.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because I've been studying a lot about the neuroscience of events and the neuroscience of using AV to cleanse the palate so that you can hear something more effectively the next round.
Yes.
And that it really, no matter what it is a neuroscience thing to how our brains work in order to create definition between, or else you get bored and you don't want to pay attention.
Exactly. You have to wake them up a little bit, and that's why I say pound them right up front.
But what about before they even get there? Is that like we're finding in meetings and meetings in the convention and meeting business that the hallway is now more important than the general session room, and that the first impression before they walk in the door is actually being activated now?
If I used an example for the hot list, I think about that the same way. So the hot list, and when we do a live show, it's an hour and a half show. Before it even starts, which I'm honored, I got to tell you, 8 o'clock in the morning, people are like, 8 o'clock in the morning, I got to be at the hot list. There were people lining up at 7 o'clock in the morning. So we have a lot of vendors out in that hallway that are entertaining people right there in the morning before they even get there. Then when those doors open at 8 o'clock, from 8 to 8:30 is a pre-show. I've got a band playing. I've had people arguing with me, Michael, it's too early to have a band.
Oh my God, that's so wrong.
Right, exactly. And I really had this argument. I won't even tell you with someone last year that he was the band that I had to use at another conference. I was like, please play the music. No, that's not what they want. Trust me. I just came from New Orleans. People were dancing in the aisles, David. 3,000 people dancing in the aisles at 8 o'clock in the morning.
I added to all of my conferences live music because it raises the energy. And I think even if you did the most boring academic conference, if you instill music in that,
absolutely,
you will change the way people hear things, the way people react to other people. And it's all about raising the level of the energy.
It's the truth. You know, I got to give them a plug. It was the Rhythm Shop that we had, a local band here in New York. They brought 16 pieces to New Orleans. And because of that connection with them, people didn't need to sit at a showcase and watch a band for an hour. They knew in 20 minutes, I got to have this band at an event, right. And woke them up.
Well, in the mind of an event organizer, it's even quicker.
And you know, if I got to give you one other thing about the hot list, that's the thing about the hot list too. If you think about 36 ideas in 90 minutes, what used to be 101 ideas in 90 minutes, now it's 36. They know, all right, I've seen that, or that's not connecting with me. There's a new idea coming 3 minutes later. I've actually banged heads a couple of times with some of the acts. I'm giving you 3 minutes to really just 3. I said, listen, if you were on America's Got Talent, you got 90 seconds. I'm giving you 3 minutes. That producer in the audience will know if you're good in 3 minutes.
Well, I think that, our attention. There's an event I go to here in New York called Tech Meetup. And they give these, these companies that are pitching, they give them like a minute to pitch this huge deal that they're doing. And if they can't do it in a minute, they're done. Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to that. I mean, what are the things? People are thirsty for ideas. We're finding BizBash every day. We get a gazillion of ideas because we're about peeking over the fence to see what other people are doing, which is what you're doing as well with the hot list.
Yep.
And I think that that's kind of a human nature in a sense, to make sure to see what other people are doing.
Exactly.
So how do you take what you learned through the hot list, choose the right vendors to create your experiences? You have a particular philosophy about that. Why don't you tell our listeners what makes your event different than others? You know,
I've been very proud of this. And before what we call a mashup now, I used to take my vendors and ask them to come together. I would see this act, or I'd see this product, or see something, and I was like, how do we make that all come together for a big wow, or this big production? I use an example of the Company Men and the Broadway Dolls. The Company Men, 4 great-looking guys, sort of that Jersey Boys-esque, but they would take music of yesterday and today and mash that up together. And then there's the Broadway Dolls, wonderful group out of New York, all equity people, and these 5 or 6 beautiful girls would do this Broadway review. I said, what if we took the Company Men and the Broadway Dolls, put them together for a big finale? So the Broadway Dolls opened up the show, Company Men came back in the middle, and then they came back and did this New York review at the end that people literally stood up and cheered. But these were people from California and New York, and I'm saying, let's come together. Let's do the orchestration. Let's make everything happen. They get excited about it. It's not the same show. They're creating something new. And then it's been pushed out to the world that I could create this idea, and now they could say, hey, listen, we also do this now too. And I've given them another level. I've done this with many acts. There's a company out of Las Vegas, Cirque Mechanics. They have something called the gantry bike. I recommend everybody, if you're listening, look online. It's called the gantry bike, Gantry. Look what it is. It's a roaming Cirque show, no rigging points needed whatsoever. Literally rolls over the audience, and Cirque performers are hanging over you. I took this incredible wow that he showed me, and I traveled over my audience at a hot list where every iPod, every phone was in the air because they've never seen anything like this. It's not technology. It's a simple structure that's wowing people. And I said to him, I want to create a Moulin Rouge theme at Cipriani 42nd Street and have a windmill on top of your gantry bike spinning as Moulin Rouge performers are traveling over everybody. And they did. And he gets creative. They get to do things different. I think that's what I'm giving to my community.
That mashup thing is really interesting. I was telling you before that I was just on a subway ride the other day, coming from Chinatown to my office here in Chelsea, in New York. And I get on the subway, and there's these two singing groups that are panhandling, and I guess it's not the correct way of saying it, but they're basically trying to raise money. And you have this musical group, you have this white sort of hippie musical group, and this black a cappella group that gets on, and it looks like it's going to be a battle of the bands. And it turns out that they both started singing exactly the same song, and mashed it up together, and the delight was beyond. You felt it. You felt tingling in the whole car, which is what happens when you do these mashups.
I've worked with so many performers over the years, and I think I saw it even further back than 17 years ago when we would be at an event when you had 10 different acts or all these people coming together, and they would be there before the show in the green room jamming and things like that. You're absolutely right. They love things like, and that's where, wow, you know what? We should do something like this together. And I get excited about that.
Well, I think that's what that karaoke, carpool karaoke did. And it's just like people want real stuff.
Yes,
and
exactly.
They don't want it as polished as people that have been working together forever.
Correct.
Maybe.
If you look at James Corbin getting into a car, it's simply singing with Mariah Carey in a car. That's what people do.
Yeah.
And now you could bring it to an event.
Yeah.
All right. And so there's some great companies out there that you're actually renting a car, doing this, putting the microphones in there, and then videotaping everybody.
Let's go a little bit into, you're an event organizer, event producer, event planner, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever.
And you are tasked with creating, finding these vendors and finding this talent. How do you create your own hot list? What do you look for? And what are the things that you look for in a vendor that make you look better to your client?
You'll always hear me at a hot list saying this is an incredible person to work with, good-hearted, nice, interesting. There's a company out of California called TLC Creative. Brilliant mind, Jeff, and I've been working with for years, and he is probably one of the most challenging people, and I say this on stage all the time. Jeff is a pain in the ass to deal with, but when you give him that moment of creativity, he'll come back with a wow with you, and he'll work hard for you. And that's what I'm looking for that person that's going to work hard for you, not just get a gig. And that's what a lot of performers. How do you get that when you're interviewing them? You're very insecure because you don't know. You're not going to necessarily hire these people over and over and over again unless you have huge amounts of business. No, and that was one of the reasons for the hot list too, David. I knew I couldn't give a performer 52 events a year. I wanted to share my wealth. But when I'm not just finding an idea and saying, all right, I'm going to put you on the list. I'm having conversations with these people too. If you go back to Vivid Fireworks in a Box, it was an amazing conversation I had with Jamie. People tell me that I have an excitement in my voice, that they could hear heart when I'm selling a product or something like that. That's what I'm looking for in the vendor too. So if you look at something like a Skating Erotics or a Vivid, or even going back, Brad Wilson, the 3 Waiters. Brad will sell that 3 Waiters because he believes in it and it's there.
Okay, but let's say you're an organizer and you've got an empty canvas. Mm-hmm. And you're researching, you find a couple of things. How do you even approach these people? Are you looking for video from them? Are you looking for website information? Are you looking for past clients? I mean, what gives them the credibility to work for you that you'll feel comfortable and safe?
For me, it's knowing that that's an interesting question. I'm thinking about it as you're saying it. It's not that I'm feeling safe with them. It's feeling that they have something different and unique, or it's something that could grow. If every vendor has to send me their logo, their video, if they have one, if it makes sense for a product, their bio, their description, all the things that I need to build a presentation with. But what I'm looking for is something that's going to make that audience go, that's different. I like that. Or that's something I've seen before, but it's a different take on it. If you think about the photo booths and things like that, where they've come today, LA Photo Party, brilliant. They have incredible ideas. Timescapers 360, they do 360-degree photography, but they've been able to get back on the list because they've taken that concept they had, and then instead of 360-degree photography that you need all the space for, they've narrowed it down to 180 to 90 degrees, even tighter, showing people how they could do their events a little bit differently. That's what I'm looking for.
So at the end of the day, though, I mean, I help people, like I'm on these nonprofits or I'm on an association and I'm recommending speakers. Right. And there's a lot of pressure because you can't please everybody. How do you're dealing with, if you're 300 people in the room, you got 300 judgment calls on what you're doing. You're naked in front of those folks. How do you deal with that? And how do you sort of get rid of some of the negative? Who do you listen to when the thing is over?
You know who you're going to make happy? Your client. Your client comes down to it. I don't think you're ever going to make an audience of 100, 300, 1,000 people. You're never going to make everybody happy. It's impossible. So if you take that away, if you could get that message across and get that cheer from the audience and get people excited, so you get a couple of bad people, the music was too loud, you're going to get that. So suck it up. But I would tell you, I come down to it, if my client is happy, that's who's going to give me.
How does the client know they're happy?
They're doing
does someone talking to them? Is it the CEO saying, "Great job"?
Yes, yeah.
Is it their peers saying, "Oh my God, that's so incredible"?
You want to know something?
What is the science goes out the window in many cases.
It does. A lot of my corporate clients do Survey Monkeys and things like that, so they'll come back with that and say, "Oh, we got an incredible response," and they're happy about that. But when my client, their end client, whether it's the C-level executive, is saying to them, "Wow," that's how I know I'm doing a good job, because blah, blah, blah said they loved it. They want to do something like this next year. That's what's making my phone ring. Yes, you got to think about the whole big picture. You got to think about everything. Are you going to make everybody happy? No. But is your client happy, and is their client or their end client happy, their C-level executive or anything like that? Right. Those are the things that are important.
So let's end this on some of the things that are coming up that you are going to be investigating. What do you see? What's your crystal ball for future hot lists? Where do you see the talent coming from? Where are you sort of hearing what's cool? And do you have any things already scheduled for 2019?
I'm starting.
Are we on 18 or 19?
We're in 18 right now. So whatever started in January, we'll do this whole list to the end of the year till December, and then we're getting ready for 2019. For the new show in San Diego in January.
This is for a special event.
Special event kicks it off every year. We just spoke last week or 2 weeks ago in New York City. We did ILEA there. Next week I'll be speaking in Boston, speaking in Dubai in April, doing 2 hot lists in Dubai, and then different locations throughout the country for the rest of the year.
Well, you have to, of course, include BizBash in your hot list of places to go to get ideas.
You know something? I got to tell you something, and you didn't tap me on the shoulder on this, but the Scout, I love looking at the Scout. I love seeing things that are out there, and I pull some ideas and I put them in my file. So BizBash is, and I'm not saying it because I'm on with you, it is a great resource for me as well.
Well, we try to do that. We try to we try to collaborate with everybody and make it all work. So is there any one thing that you're looking forward to that you have seen that may or may not make it? You don't even have to say the name of it, but a type of thing.
It's an interesting act that I'd like to close the show out with next year. It's a death-defying act. And this year I ended my show with a the past 2 years I've ended the show. In 2017, we ended with the Skating Erratas. This year we ended with Deadly Games, that I had literally knives thrown at me that my wife had to leave and go put on deodorant because she was a nervous wreck because she didn't know that was going to happen at the end. And there's something else going to be very death-defying in 2019.
Okay, well, we'll have to stay tuned. Okay, so Michael, how do people get in touch with you?
Michael at CerbelliCreative.com.
Spell that for people since it's hard to spell sometimes. I know.
Cerbelli, what's that? No. It's Michael, Michael, at Cerbelli, Cerbelli, creative.com.
Great. Well, thank you, Michael, for being on GatherGeeks once again. You are one of our go-to people.
Love you guys.
So we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
So, David, that was really fascinating. And one of the things I found maybe not so surprising, but that Michael measures the impact of the vendors and things that he sticks on the hot list based on how much they push people to share on social media, which is kind of interesting.
Well, I think that's one of the elements he talked about, but the idea that people want their vendors to be celebrities in their own right. Mm-hmm. And so, the idea that sharing it means people are recognizing it. It's like a perception game, I think, that happens. Mm-hmm. And if you notice, not that many people stay on these lists forever.
Right.
They go in and out.
Right. I did do a quick Google of gantry bike so I could see it in action. Yeah. And, it's kind of this self-contained circ structure, and it definitely delivers the wow. But I will note that, this is entertainment and other things, not just for social events. That's not all he does. These are meetings as well, ways to get a crowd jazzed up during a general session or during, say, your closing banquet, for instance.
Yeah, well, I do believe, our whole theory, I think, of the case is that the industry is morphing together and that whatever you take from one type of event is perfectly suitable for another type of event and that all the lines are blurred.
Right. I thought it was a great question when you asked what he looks for in a vendor. How does he vet this list? And it got me thinking how every producer, every event organizer kind of has their own version of the hot list, right?
Oh, yeah.
They might not have the same platform as Michael, but
right.
they're able to say who their hot list of vendors is, give them repeat business, give them word of mouth business, et cetera.
That's why we do this 10 ideas of the week that one of our reporters, Ian, does. And I love that because I think that's where people are also going all the time to make sure that they're not missing out on anything.
Right. It's one of our most popular features. Everyone wants to see what goes into our 10 best. So.
Yeah. So, Beth, what's going on at BizBash?
Well, speaking of lists of best things, we just published our list of the top 100 events in Miami and South Florida. So these are the best events according to us here at BizBash, and you'll find signature events that we all know, from Art Basel to the South Beach Wine and Food Festival, which remain at the top of their categories. But you may also be surprised at some of the new events on the list, like the Emerge Americas Conference, as well as the Miami Poetry Festival. So check that out at bizbash.com, and you'll find all of our top 100 lists there as well.
Great. Well, I guess this is another wrap.
All right, gather on, David.
Okay, gather on.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you like what you're hearing, be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast app. We can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Player FM, Google Play, and Pocket Cast. Be sure to leave us a rating and review. It helps others discover the GatherGeeks podcast. We'd also love to hear from you. You can leave feedback on Twitter at GatherGeeks or leave us an email, gathergeeks@bizbash.com. We hope you'll join us again for the next episode of GatherGeeks. Until then, gather on. This episode is sponsored in part by PC NameTag. When's the big event? PC NameTag is here for planners with their exclusive event badge, plus other meeting supplies, including promotional products. Count on customized services that save time while helping you present an extraordinary event, one that leads to memorable and meaningful connections. Call 888-698-5500 or visit pcnametag.com today. This episode is also sponsored by Event Leadership Institute. Invest in yourself and your staff with self-paced online event education designed to fit into your busy schedule. Subscribe to the Event Leadership Institute for only $25 per month and gain access to an extensive on-demand video library of classes, as well as interviews with industry leaders. Best of all, you can watch classes in small pieces or all at once. For more information, visit eventleadershipinstitute.com.